guys, welcome back to another episode of Strip by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. We are well into season 2 now. Welcome back, new old listeners, yada yada yada. I hate intros like that. Hello. Hello everyone. I'm Steph, aka Kimchi, your host, which I always forget in every episode as well. I'm just a voice with no name, but no, my name is Steph Sia. I am Kimchi, your host for this podcast. And this week I am very excited to have on another fantastic sex worker in the Vancouver community. Her name is Vivika Vaughn, and she is a wonderful and exotic stripper here in Vancouver. She's also really big into the kink community, BDSM. We're going to get into all the nitty gritty today. So Vivika, can you say hello? Are you there?
Hi, yes, I am. Hi, Steph. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited. My name is Vivika Vaughn. I have been in the BDSM community for about 9 years now as a practicing kink connoisseur. I identify as a switch, femme-tom, femme-dom type person, primarily identifying as a cis-femme. Okay. I have been doing pole dance for, probably about 4 years. I think I'm coming up to my stripperversary.
Yay!
And previously to that, I did burlesque as well, on and off throughout Vancouver. Burlesque was my very first intro into exotic stage performance and erotic stage performance. I also am a fire performer and a local artist in the Burning Man community for BC.
Whoa. So many things here.
I got my fingers in a lot of different pies.
I was going to say, and that's a tasty fucking pie that you're eating up right there. Well, we're going to get into it because that's a lot more. I didn't know you were included in so many different communities there. I think I knew about half. But where do you want to start? Do you want to start chronologically from the very, very, very beginning to your roots in burlesque, and we'll kind of go from there? It's up to you, really.
Yeah, sure. I can totally start with that. My interest in BDSM has actually been since I hit puberty, to be completely honest. Okay. I have always found myself to be very interested in erotic sensation, erotic performance, really just being extra. I mean, I was the type of girl in high school who would wear like a silver crushed velvet button-down shirt and some matching like silver denim bell bottoms. And that was me. And I had a pair of pleather snakeskin pants that my mother was constantly shaking her head at. I coveted them until they tore at the seams.
No.
And then, I know, I was really heartbroken. But I have always been interested in dressing up and being a performance artist. I wanted to go to acting school as a kid, so being the center of attention totally fits in with the type of work that I like to do.
Right.
My very first introduction to like cabaret and erotic performances was Moulin Rouge in Chicago.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of other movies out there that I ended up watching later on in my life, like Showgirls and Birdcage,
yes.
Priscilla Queen of the Desert. I really loved the drag movies of the 90s and the 2000s. Those were really fun.
Okay.
They were to me at the time, they were wholesome romps. So like that was the type of media I consumed as a teenager. And I didn't even realize that there was a kink community until about when I was 23. I had heard of the local Sin City party that would happen. It was basically a fetish kink night that happened down in downtown East Side Vancouver in this really amazing grungy old club,
right.
Club 23 West.
Yes.
Shout out to the crew at Club 23 West. They were pretty fantastic, and it was a very long-lived event there. It still carries on now, but it's changed a lot.
Right.
So like my very first introduction to the kink community was when I was about 23. I decided, after I'd been living alone for quite a few years and going through some depression, I decided, I was like, screw it, I'm going out. And I contacted one of my friends in Vancouver who I had incidentally dated as a teenager and said, like, I know that you go to Sin City. Can you take me for my birthday?
Oh.
And I know. So I ended up going for my birthday, and I decided to go as like a Chicago mobster girlfriend, like cabaret dancer. And
Cool.
I had a lot of fun. I got to dance. And it was really my awakening into realizing that it was okay to be a show off. There's places for you to go and show off and dress up and be sexy and be admired.
Yes.
And coincidentally, it also was how I started learning more about consent culture and, you know, previously the ways that my consent had been violated and how I may have previously had transgressions against other people where I violated their consent. And it really opened up my eyes to a whole new world of understanding what it is that I want, what I can ask for, what other people want, and how to talk about those things.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And after that, I realized there was like collarme.com, which was like a fetish dating site. And then there was also FetLife.
Yes. Yeah. Familiar with that.
Coincidentally, I met my partner on collarme.com.
Okay.
So we've been together for about 9 years.
Wow.
Sorry to let everybody else know that I'm off the market.
Off
but that
the
doesn't
market.
mean that I can't give you the attention that you want.
There we go. Exactly.
Exactly. I got a lot of love to give, baby.
Wow.
A lot of kinky love. But yeah, and that was also coincidentally where I saw my very first burlesque performance. It was like, wow, there's actually a community for people who are emulating Chicago and Moulin Rouge. Oh my God, that's amazing. I want to do that so badly. And I ended up getting into it. I did a few performances at Sin City Fetish Night itself.
Okay.
And through other places in the community. And then I kind of like went through this weird phase where I wasn't sure that it fit me because I felt like there was more that I wanted. And I still felt that there was like these confines of what the art of burlesque is.
Okay.
And there's still a lot of debate over neo-burlesque's place in the evolution of burlesque. And I'm wholeheartedly here for it because the only way an art survives is by evolving with the times.
Of course.
Yeah. As we've seen now with all of these online shows and stuff that we are finding ways to still get our art out there and be supported as artists, even though it's not the same as having like a face-to-face chemistry with an audience.
Right, yeah.
It's still an outlet for the artistic expression. So I still did burlesque, but I did it mostly for private parties.
Okay.
And like I did some performances at private fetish parties too. Mm-hmm. There used to be a club in Davie Village, I think it was called. It was called Club 8x6 on Harrow Street. And it was a sex on premises club. So there was obviously sexual acts happening, but it was also like DJs, and we did suspension performances, which is another thing part of how I got into the fetish community is I started as a rope bottom. So I used to do shibari performances. So there were times where I'd be strung up into these crazy flexible positions and just held there in midair with rope for a while. And I also just kind of created a performance for myself as well, just by, twisting around in the ropes, changing positions, stuff like that.
Very cool.
Generally, it was really cool. And there's something very euphoric about rope because of the way that your body is sitting against the rope and the gravity is pulling you down. It feels like you're still on the ground, but you're not. You've got this euphoric sway going on in the air, and you get into this place called rope space, and it's very, very euphoric.
Wow.
So, I did a lot of rope performances at Taboo Convention, actually. Eve used to work with a group called Vertigo Rope.
Okay.
And they're no longer active at the moment. That may change in the future, but we did a lot of performances. And so throughout like the fetish community, I was performing as a burlesque dancer, I was performing as a rope artist.
You did all the things.
And I really did.
You were such a chameleon.
I'm really down for new stuff. And what's really funny is up until the point of talking about where I came from in like the whole fetish and performance stuff, I had totally forgotten I was a rope bottom with Vertigo and I performed at Taboo and stuff like that. So I'm just like uncovering these memories. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that.
Well, I'm glad stuff, that, I guess. Yeah, like I'm so glad to like kind of like trigger these good memories.
Oh, yes, thank you. I really appreciate being able to talk about it.
No, it's great. I'm learning so much. I'm sure the audience is like super fascinated.
And it was also like my introduction into the fetish of like sissy maids and cross-dressing.
Right.
I had a partner as well at the time. She went by the name of Holly.
Okay.
And she was kind of my introduction into the whole cross-dressing world, and there's like some really interesting intersections and lines to walk through those fetishes. So
okay,
it's where I started really finding what I was interested in, because I am such a hyper feminine person when it comes to being in the center of attention and showing off. Like I hyper feminine in the way that I dress and present myself when I'm performing. I mean, if I'm just walking through the mall or going grocery shopping, I'm just wearing sweatpants and my hair is pulled back in a bun, likely unwashed. So, I mean, you wouldn't be able to pick me out of a crowd, which is kind of nice, but at the same time, like, it gets kind of be like a little rut that you get stuck in, and then
right.
you put some makeup on and you're just like, whoa, I forgot how this feels.
Yes.
Let's do this more.
Totally feel that with COVID.
Oh my gosh, like this is the first time I've put makeup on, so in like probably about 3 months, honestly.
Oh my
I've got like
gosh.
4 makeup palettes I just bought and haven't touched yet because I'm like, oh, pretty colors. Oh, no inspiration.
No, I feel you. Like I wore makeup. I wore a lipstick for the first time in like a month or so, maybe 2 months yesterday, and I was like, I look so different, and I love the way it just makes you feel, makes you transform and stuff.
Oh, totally. And that like really like tying this back into the cross-dressing and the fetish and the forced feminization. Like I understand where that power and that desire to be like the center of attention and you know, sexy and slutty and stuff like that. So it's this weird little intersectional knot when it comes to like cross-dressing as a fetish, cross-dressing as a self-actualization for a trans person,
right?
Forced feminization as a way of being encouraged in a safe space to exude that feminine identity and energy. So
right.
It's a very complex thing, because not only are you playing with someone who has these identities and these personalities or this expectation of who they want to be. So it can get really tricky, but I find it very rewarding, honestly, when you can create that safe space for, say, a cis man to be able to wear a pair of frilly underwear and stockings and some pink lipstick and be allowed and encouraged and applauded, or like just made to feel good about that.
Yeah.
So it's for me, it is very niche.
Very niche.
I really enjoy it, honestly. It's very rewarding for me to see this person enjoying the same things that I enjoy and understanding the power of putting on dark red lipstick and thick black lashes. Like it's like you just turn into a completely different person. And I really enjoy seeing that transformation.
How did you get into like the whole cross-dressing? Sorry to interrupt you there. I'm just curious.
No,
like,
it's totally okay.
I love everything. Like everything's flowing so well. It's so perfect. I just want to know in terms of like, how did you get into like the whole fetish of cross-dressing and forced feminization?
Well, like I said, it was my introduction with Holly.
Oh, right. Yes.
And it's okay. Holly, like I have a very special, like she's got a very special place in my heart. I really love her. I'm still in contact with her.
Okay.
And we do still play and stuff like that at times. It's not as extravagant as it was when we were, you know, in the thick of our DS dynamic.
Right.
But it's still there, and I really feel like I've always had this thought that it was really strange that I could dress as a tomboy. I could dress like in jeans and a trucker hat and like a ripped up white t-shirt or something like that, and no one would really give me a second glance, right?
Right.
But when it comes to cis male or cis man, like expressing a femininity or, you know, wanting to be a slightly more feminine or androgynous, it's bastardized by society.
Right.
It's so taboo. And I even realized this as a kid and a teenager, that it was really, really weird. It wasn't okay in my
Yeah.
mind. And when I was introduced, like, I always knew there were trans people out there. Like, I used to watch like Late Night Showcase and, you know, all those shows about like taboo sexuality. And like, I watched this one about ballooners, people who love having sex with, or like, you know, are aroused by balloons and inflatable animals. And,
oh, really?
You know, pool inflatables. Yeah, no, it's
I never
an
heard of that
entire
one.
other fetish. I don't know very much about it, but I know it exists.
Okay. I've never heard of that one before.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
No, I mean, if you can think of it, somebody's got a fetish for it, more than likely.
Totally. Yeah, if you could think of it, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always knew that trans people existed. And at one point in my early 20s, I had an online relationship with someone who originally told me that they were a male, like a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out later through the online grapevine, through our connected online circle, that this person had been lying to me, and they were born as cis femme.
Oh.
But they were trans mask. So they
Right.
were in the middle of kind of actualizing that. And, you know, it was really, at first I was really hurt by it, but afterwards, when they explained to me that it's just sometimes you're just born in the wrong body.
Yes.
And it clicked for me. I was kind of like, okay, that, you know, that makes sense. And I mean, it makes sense to me that this would happen.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I understand. And when I also was like talking with this person, I realized just the type of danger that trans people experience in their lives, having to lie about who they are in order to survive.
Yeah.
And that really,
That's
that
a huge
really
thing.
made me sad, and that made me far more empathetic towards this person who had lied to me.
Right.
But obviously, like, I forgave them, and we had like at least a 2-year-long online relationship, and, you know, we cammed all the time and stuff like that. And I had started understanding a little bit more about the life of a trans person.
Yeah.
So moving forward, and then having like met Holly, and there was a lot of learning, to be completely honest with you. I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes, and throughout my life has obviously been a journey, but I'm always there for it, because like the last thing I want to do is hurt somebody's feelings.
Totally.
Or hurt them so badly that they injure themselves.
Right.
That's not my agenda. Like, I believe that people should be able to live as freely and as consensually as they please.
Of course.
Which means that, like, going from like this hyper masculine must be like, you know, you must be hard, you must play football, you must do all these stereotypical masculine things in order to fit in. Like, these people, they wanted a safe space, a safe person to be able to express themselves with. And to me, that's a huge honor to be that space.
Yeah.
And so even though I make mistakes, I'm always there to learn from those mistakes and do better.
Of course.
And Holly really helped me with that. And I am completely forever indebted to Holly for having the patience to teach me and take me the time to assert their needs and assert their identity and be respected for that. And, you know, that I'm forever in debt for that, because now I have firsthand experience, and I can take that forward and use that in other relationships or in other friendships with trans people.
Of course.
So, yeah, and try to connect to the dots here.
No, that's okay. There's so much to unpack there, as you said. Like, it's a lot of like,
it's a
lot of
to
unlearning,
unpack, because there's a lot of emotions involved in it too.
Totally.
But part of me just really hopes that I don't come across as like a fetishist, because that's like a huge problem in the trans community, is being used and dropped as a fetish. And that's so dehumanizing, and that's, again, not what I'm here for. So I try to be very careful walking the line of talking about how I enjoy encouraging cross-dressing and forced femme, because I want to be that safe place for someone to be able to express themselves, especially when we're still evolving as a society that allows this type of expression from cis men.
Of course. And I'm really glad that you said
women
that.
too, so.
Yes. or all inclusive. I'm really glad that you said that in terms of the term fetishist. Do you want to kind of go more into that as well? Because I haven't really heard much about that myself. I want to be more like general explanation, but if you want to go more into each like specific, you can.
Okay, so I also would like to backtrack and realize that I have been mostly talking about cross-dressing as far as cis men is concerned.
Right.
I'd also like to say that cross-dressing, there's a weird line to walk there between it being a fetish and it being a self-actualization for a trans person. So
right.
I have provided this safe space for not only cis men to express their femininity, but also trans women to express their femininity as well in a safe place and, have a sister to dress up with or something like that. So I just wanted to backtrack and mention that I realized that I kind of overused the word cis men there. So,
that's okay. That's okay.
But, yeah. So like there are these two camps, not to make a pun, for cross-dressing. There's cross-dressing is a gateway to self-actualization for like gender identity.
Right.
And then there's cross-dressing as a fetish. Now, these are just my thoughts.
Okay.
I'm totally fine being corrected or having people talk with me about this, and I'm always here to listen. I believe that cross-dressing would be less of a fetish if feminine attributes or like emulations of femininity in men in general were allowed more societally.
Right. And they're usually not. It's usually policed and, projected that like hyper-masculine characteristics are more preferred, as you were explaining before. Yeah, totally. I hear you on that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's also this whole thing where some women who end up finding out that their partner is a cross-dresser, they realize that they never would have gone out of their way to date a cross-dresser until they realized they were dating one.
Okay.
And so it's frustrating in a way for these people out there who want to be able to express this femininity in a safe environment with a partner and being scared to because of the stigma. And it pushes a lot of people into the closet, whether it's regarding their fetishes and their needs or their gender identification. So I believe that the fetishistic side of it can be harmful, but it can be practiced in a respectful way. The disrespectful way is how you get guys who are cheating on their wives with a T-girl or something like that, and their T-girl is their side dish, or they're dating a T-girl on the DL so that their friends or their family don't find out because it's this dirty shame, and like it's so dehumanizing.
Right.
Absolutely
Completely.
dehumanizing. Like if it were more accepted in society for men to express feminine attributes, we wouldn't have that problem, to be completely honest. Yeah. It would be okay for someone for someone who is born a cis male to just dress as they please, and their partner of whatever gender identity is totally societally fine to date them. Yeah. We would have so much less of these problems and these fetishizations and these broken hearts. And if we were just a little bit more accepting of people just in general expressing themselves as they need to be, as long as it's consensual and safe.
Right. 100% agree with you on that. That's a lot there. Just a lot.
Gosh, yes. I'm so sorry if this is like I'm rambling or kind of going in circles.
No,
I'm
not
really hoping that I'm cohesive right now.
No, you are. You've always been like going back, and I'm just like, this is perfect. But I'm really, really glad that you got into that too, because then even that, as you said, there is quite a fine line between the two, and not everyone is aware of that as well.
Yeah,
right?
And it's like, people have to realize that there is another person on the other side of your fantasy.
Yes.
And that person still needs to be respected.
Yes.
Inside the fantasy and outside the fantasy. Like it's not just like picking up a porno mag and, jerking off to it and then tossing it aside. Like that's a human being.
Yeah.
And you can't treat people like that. And that's why there's this division between the two. that really muddies the waters, because sometimes people have to ask themselves, like, am I doing this just for my benefit, or am I legitimately interested in creating and cultivating a relationship with this person?
Right.
So I've heard a lot of really heartbreaking stories from trans women, cross-dressers, T-girls in general, just being a fetish and being used for who they are and then dumped. And it's not okay. It's definitely really heartbreaking.
Okay. Yeah. That is just like inhumane to do that. Period.
Absolutely. Absolutely inhumane.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for bringing that whole conversation up. It's not something that we've discussed on the podcast yet, so it's really eye-opening to have that. And I'm ashamed to say I've only ever had one trans individual on the podcast. So if there are any other trans sex workers out there that would like to be featured, please let me know. We've only ever had Demi Mundane on the podcast, who's a trans porn star, and I've been trying to kind of conscientiously look for guests to go on the show that I can really learn more about and that our audience can really benefit from, because again, these things aren't really talked about ever.
Yeah, totally. It's dicey having a cis woman talking about trans women and their identity and cross-dressing and how that all ties into it and such. So I'm doing my best to be the utmost respectful and to only talk about the things that I understand and the things that I've experienced. So I am totally happy to have people shout me out and say, hey, can we talk about this?
Yes.
So that's fine by me.
Perfect. I also want
I'm always here to learn.
Yo, yes. And like, it sounds like you're just like an ever-learning student, I would say.
I mean, well, we have to be, honestly. Yes. If we want to get anywhere in life, you got to keep learning. Otherwise, you keep chasing your tail.
Yes. Thank you. Well said. But I also want to talk about, I guess maybe if you want to talk more about the kink community that you want, like in terms of like the services that you provide. Also, if you want to talk about stripping, there's so much to uncover here. There's like,
oh yeah,
you need 2 episodes on this.
I've got an entire bag of tricks under my bed. It's pretty crazy. Like, yeah, I've been collecting fetish gear, restraints, latex toys, and stuff for years. I have quite a toy chest and quite a repertoire of skills. So I primarily like to work with women or, cross-dressers, whether they're identifying as trans or just cis male who's interested in expressing femininity. That's primarily my niche.
Okay.
I do femdom as well, in both the aspect of forced femme and cross-dressing, etc., as well as like masculine subservience or male subservience.
Right.
I like protocol. I know it's kind of weird, but like I kind of like, sometimes I kind of like making up these like little shifty little rules that are gonna be like allow me a little bit more fun. Like totally. Every time, like if I have someone on a St. Andrew's cross, every time they bend their knees a little bit, I'll, smack their calf with the cane and, continue on what I was doing with whatever I was doing. But like, it's kind of, I'm a bit of a brat dom in that way. I love to be bratty. I love to, kind of make painful puns. Like I will totally pun at somebody while I'm playing with them. Just to get a reaction, whether it's a laugh or a groan or a roll of the eyes. It's fun for me to kind of push those buttons, obviously consensually, never pushing past boundaries, but just pushing buttons here and there, getting a reaction. I really like sense play. Like I really enjoy creating a sensual experience, whether that's to do with like whether that's to do with playing with the 5 senses, or restricting some of the senses. And
can you give like an example of that too?
Oh yeah,
that's so cool. Never heard of that one.
So So, like, you know, it's as simple as using like a blindfold and a gag, or using perfume, like, you know, because cross-dressing involves lingerie. Like, sometimes people will request, like, you know, a pair of worn panties to be put on their face so that that's what they're smelling while you're doing what you're doing with them. And
right.
I mean, there's a whole scientific thing about pheromones and such that's released through our genitals and our scent glands and sweat glands, which is why there are fetishes such as like smelly socks or smelling armpits and, you know, body sweat, body odor, that type of thing. Like, that's definitely a whole other fetish.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, like, playing with the five senses, and also, like, the skin is the largest sensory organ on our body, and there's so much of it, and it varies on sensitivity. So, I mean, like, sometimes I'll love to put like a Wartenberg wheel, which is like this really sharp little pinwheel with needles that you can kind of run up somebody's skin. You can put it in. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of a reflex tool. It totally pushes on medical fetish as well.
Wow,
they're very
cool.
mean. They're quite mean sometimes if you use them correctly. One of my favorite things to do to somebody is to put it in, if they're consensually okay with me playing with their feet. I'll put the Wartenberg wheel in the cold water, and then I'll run the little needles up from the bottom of their heel up all over their toe.
Oh my gosh.
And it's pretty exciting. I love those little fuckering around with sensations and stuff like that.
Wow.
So, I mean, restraining someone is also kind of a sense play, in a way that you are taking away their sense of control.
Yes.
And, just blindfolds, gags, using scent, or using hot and cold play. Impact play is another one of my favorites. Personally, for me, I am a switch. I do sometimes bottom. I rarely sub anymore. There's a difference between bottoming and subbing.
Okay. Can you quickly explain? Yeah, totally, for the audience.
Yeah, so like to me bottoming is like a low protocol interaction in BDSM. It's like, we have negotiated this scene. I am submitting to not submitting. I'm bottoming to this scene that that we're going to demonstrate. And for me, like, submission and subbing is there's more protocol to it. There's a lot more protocol to it. So, I mean, there's going to be rules. There's going to be consistency in the interaction. It takes on more of a life than bottoming.
Okay.
To me, like, subbing to me personally, my definition means that there's a commitment to this dynamic.
Yeah.
So whereas, like, I could bottom as a rope, I could do rope bottoming for somebody, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're in a DS dynamic or a DS relationship.
Right.
I feel like bottoming is kind of subbing light.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. I'm like a light version or like an easy version of subbing.
Kind of, but it's not necessarily easy in what you're going to be experiencing. No. Obviously, that's all like negotiated.
Yes.
But I mean, it's less of a long-term commitment, to me at least.
Okay, and you probably say the same, something similar in terms of topping and versus domming then.
Totally.
Cool. That's really cool. Eye-opening. Yeah, thanks for that. Totally. Sidebar.
Exactly, right? So, like, the other things that I do foot fetish, shoe worship. I love shoes so much. So, I mean, I have way too many pairs of shoes. I have, like, some shoes that I'm actually, like, getting rid of. Like, I'm looking for a buyer for. They're Perfect. My old stripper boots. And,
yes.
You know, some people like that. I just haven't been, I haven't marketed them out there yet. Just been a little lazy through quarantine here, feeling so demotivated.
Oh, I hear you, girl.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do foot fetish, foot worship, body worship, stalking worship, forced feminization.
Okay, yeah.
Everything. A little bit of everything. Like, I really just enjoy playing. There's a few things that I definitely won't do. Like, I won't do blood play. Okay. Blood or period play, like anything like that. No coprophilia.
Yeah.
No, like, the most I might do is golden showers, but I'm not into letting people drink my own urine.
Yeah.
That's not really my thing. shout out to everybody out there who likes that. That's totally cool. I'm not yucking your yum.
No.
It's just, I prefer, like, I would not like to do that.
And that's okay. That's totally okay.
And that's okay. And that's fine. Everybody has their boundaries.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you have to respect it. So.
Oh, totally. And CBT, like, finally, like, one of my absolute favorite things. And so this is really funny because I mentioned this just before we were talking, before we started recording.
Yes.
There's two different definitions for CBT. And in the psychology community and the mental health community, CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. Basically, like, reframing your thoughts and being very, like, obviously cognitively changing the way that you behave in your mind. Whereas CBT in the fetish community means cock and ball torture. And that's one of the things I specialize in, for sure. Yeah.
And they're wildly different.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
All right, guys, we are back. Unfortunately, I had some problems with technology and it cut out and I couldn't record. So on that high note, which is really frustrating, we do have Vivika back on the podcast right now. So if you hear a change in audio quality, it's also because I'm using my mic again. So yeah. Anyways, just had to kind of preface you guys for that. But Vivika, we want to talk about Sextpanther, because I don't know anything about that. You're on that. I've noticed a lot of other sex workers are getting on the Sextpanther train right now. Do you want to kind of tell the audience what Sextpanther is and kind of go into that and say hello again to the audience?
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry about having to postpone and start recording again, but we're all good now.
We're all good.
So yeah, Sextpanther is a secure sexting service. So basically, when you sign up as a performer, your phone is connected to your account, but the phone number that you have is actually scrambled and sent through a server and comes out as a different phone number.
Oh,
and the same thing happens in reverse with your client. So it's completely secure in the fact that your name is like your performer name, and your ability to text back and forth. Like, I don't even think you get to put your location on your profile, which I think is really important too. It's like that's extra little bit of security that you really are just like, internet fantasy cam girl sexter, which is great. And I really appreciated that about this service, how secure it was. The same thing with the photos and the videos that you might send. They're like securely, you can't really view them on your phone. You actually have to go in through your browser and view them on your messaging profile. But most of the time, text will come back and forth, through your phone, but you can still access them through your browser on your Sextpanther page.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, I've had some very interesting experiences on there, actually. Like, I've done foot worship videos. I've done, solo masturbation videos. I'm a little less, I don't like masturbating for myself in front of a mirror or a camera. I'm still not, there yet as far as, completely loving myself. Just gonna put it out there. I still have a self-love journey that I am on.
And that's allowed.
Anybody else who, exactly. And I was just going to say, anybody else who, might look at someone's Instagram and be like, oh my God, they've got it made. They've got it together. They're so amazing. And it's like, just don't compare yourself to that.
Yeah, comparing is like the worst thing.
I've made that mistake before, and it's really pushed me back on my self-love journey. And I'm saying this aloud too, just to hold myself accountable, that there's no shame in learning more about yourself and learning more about what you want and what you love about yourself, because you're the best person in the world to tell yourself these things. Don't rely on other people to tell you that, because you're just going to feel empty at the end of the day. Me personally, I felt very empty at the end of the day, and it's become a little bit of a challenge sometimes, especially with not having the attention on stage, being a stripper and being a performer.
Yes.
That I've realized that sometimes I did supplement my self-love with the love of being a fantasy. You get from being a fantasy, which is
totally.
I don't know. It's like eating potato chips.
I get it.
It's like eating potato chips. It's empty calories, but in that moment, it's satisfying. And then later on, after you've eaten a bag of potato chips, which is totally okay, totally fine if you eat a bag of potato chips, just later on you feel like, oh crap, I feel like I need to eat some real food.
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
I need some real self-love. I need the real thing. I need to give it to myself.
Right, yeah, because it's not as satisfying, after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did the same thing last night. I'm gonna be totally real. Like, I went out and we got some Krispy Kremes, and I had 3 donuts, and then I was like, oh, I know I should eat some real food right now.
Girl, you do you.
I mean, just love yourself.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy, eat the donuts. If it makes you happy, eat the chips. But
yes.
Just remember the good stuff that you do have to give yourself still.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. Sometimes we all need to hear that a little bit. But you also mentioned you're also a stripper. You also work at the club.
Yes.
We haven't even talked about that yet. And that's how I know you, because obviously, like, we've taken some classes together. We're both, instructors at that level too, at a local studio. So please tell the audience.
Oh gosh. So I remember earlier when we had started recording, I was talking about how I got into burlesque and how I was obsessed with the life of like a cabaret star. And
yes.
I watched Moulin Rouge in Chicago. And
yes.
then there was a point in burlesque where I felt like the confines of the art of burlesque it didn't give me enough room
mm-hmm.
to be like what I felt like I wanted to be. And I was really interested in pole and aerial arts and just how beautiful and strong and gymnastic it was. And I got into pole dancing through the local studio that we've both been to and we both trained at. And that was basically where I realized that, like, my body is one of the most amazing things that I possess. Like,
yes.
And I think I hope that everybody gets to feel that way about themselves, because it's very liberating. It's very empowering. And mm-hmm. I realized that while I was doing pole, like, this is where I wanted to be. And of course, pole is attached to stripping. Stripping is what modernized and, like, quote, socialized pole, like, made it more acceptable in the community.
Right.
And that's like a whole other conversation
that
about how pole dancing was gentrified in a certain way, and has been, like, sort of toxically moving away from its origins in order to distance itself from the umbrella of sex work and sex workers and being sexually liberated and such. So that's like a whole other conversation.
That totally is.
I realized it was an access point for me. And I'm the type of person who really likes to go in knowing what it is I'm doing before I start doing it as, like, a performance.
Mm-hmm.
Even the same thing with my fire performing. Like, I really wanted to know how to handle my tools before I stepped out on that beach 4 or 5 years ago and lit my fans up for the first time. I wanted to know how to move them so that I wasn't going to look like I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
To me, that's one of the most uncomfortable and most vulnerable positions for me to feel like I'm in, is when I'm just like, oh, do I actually know what I'm doing here? And then the whole imposter syndrome thing just starts spiraling out of control. And,
yes.
and I deal with that so often. Like, I dealt with that. That's what kept me from teaching for so long at the studio, was that I'm like, do I actually know what I'm doing?
Yes, you do. You're so good. Seriously. Oh, you are.
Thanks. So, like, awkward, thank you. But I really got into, I love the flow around the pole. Like, as being a flow artist, it's the idea of using movement and balance and physics to connect your body to a tool and manipulate either your body around the tool or the tool around your body.
Right.
And that's very much where I saw pole and floor work, and I felt as if my body were the tool that were being manipulated in the way that you would use all contact points on the floor when you're doing, like, a shoulder roll and stuff, and you work on making it so fluid that it literally looks like you are fluid, and
yes.
you are flowing in a way. So
totally.
I was really mesmerized by that, and being the perfectionist I am, it took me a very long time to feel like I was good enough to actually perform or, do an amateur contest or start teaching. And in a kind of hindsight's 2020, I'm really kicking myself right now for not having started it sooner just because of this whole COVID mess.
I know, right? Seriously. I feel the same way.
Yeah. So I did my very first amateur contest I started pole in 2016, the new year of 2016. And I think I did my very first amateur contest in March 2017. And then in later of 2017, I started lap dancing at the Penthouse, which is where I went for the amateur contest. Like, home club. God love Junior's amateur contest.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, praise be to Junior's amateur contest. Like,
I lived for that.
I love that. I really love. I gotta do a shout out to Samantha frickin' Mack. Like, Samantha fucking Mack. Like, she is just. I absolutely adore that woman, and I'm so grateful for her creating such a fun environment for the amateur contest to happen. Of course, she's Samantha Mack. She's sassy. She makes she makes dirty jokes. She makes jokes at the guy's expense. Shout out to Samantha Mack.
She's such a great energy, and if you haven't listened to her episode, you should probably go back and do that because she is incredible.
Yeah, I absolutely love her, and I'm really happy for her and her success and everything like that.
Yes.
I was also going to say another shout out to the other house mom at the Penthouse. Her name is Michelle, and she is just 100% amazing. And as a baby stripper, I really appreciated her. Mm-hmm. She was very helpful and very kind, and she's always, taking care of us, and she's done a really good job of that. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, Michelle. We love you.
Yes, we do.
We love you so much.
We also really miss the Penthouse so much. Miss the Penthouse.
Oh gosh, I'm so excited for whenever it gets to open back up.
I know.
I'm hearing some cool stuff.
Me too. I cannot wait to see the changes.
Yeah. I miss Maddie. I miss Ben so much.
I know.
I miss Crystal. They were all so great. Like, the staff at the Penthouse is amazing. So
it's like family.
Shout out to Penthouse too.
Yes, big shout out.
It really is. Like, if you're looking for a really amazing, fun place to go, it went post-COVID when we're actually allowed out, and we're allowed to have responsible parties. Because that's not happening.
It's not. It's not.
No, it's not. And I'm just like, y'all are making it worse for everybody else. Please stop.
Stop now. That's another topic.
Pull out my dom voice.
Wait, what is your dom voice? I want to hear it.
My dom voice. Oh my gosh. Oh, now you're putting me on the spot. Now I can't even remember how it goes. It's been so long.
No pressure.
I've been sexting so much I can't remember what my dom voice sounds like.
That's okay.
So here, I'm just going to be I'll just do it. Okay, so this is my dom voice. Vivika Vaughn here speaking, and you will fucking listen.
Oh my God. I just got chills down my spine. That was so good. Oh my God. That's so commanding.
That's my role play voice.
I love it.
Other times when it's really funny sometimes just because I am very statuesque and imposing. When I was stripping, I had long dark hair, and I wear it up in a high ponytail on my head, and I would do the dark catwing eyes and eyeshadow, and the dark lips were my trademark for sure. Everybody knew me for having dark red lipstick, dark purple, black, dark slate gray blue type of stuff, and
100%.
I was very imposing and goth and just very strong, and especially I'm wearing 7-inch stilettos, so I mean I'm statuesque 6'2", and
you're already tall.
Wow, you're tall.
Yeah, you're really tall.
Wow, you're observant.
Thanks for that.
I didn't know, but that's okay. You play it off. Though sometimes I will admit I have sassed people because I'm just not in the mood for it. And
no. No one has time for that.
Yeah. Especially when you've heard it 60 times in 4 hours. It
gets old.
Nope, I'm not answering to it anymore. But But I constantly get passed off as the tall, bitchy dominatrix, because that's how I look and I present that way, and I'm going to acknowledge that. But as soon as I open my mouth, that entire facade falls away when I'm at the club, because I'm just talking like this and I'm super excited about things, and I'll get into like a topic with them, and I'll be really interested, and it'll be like a conversation that completely like flips my image on my head, because I'm honestly just naturally a lovable weird goofball. I like making jokes. I'll make puns until you're groaning uncontrollably. I'll make puns during a scene with you just to make you groan, because I like the reaction. But I very often get passed off as someone who's going to possibly immediately be a bitch, and I'm really not. Like, no. If you're going to approach me, obviously approach me respectfully, and
yes.
Don't be a jackass, and
don't be a jerk.
I won't have to be a bitch to you, right? Just like come over and say hi, and like don't judge a book by its cover.
No, you don't bite for the most part.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I tell them I don't bite unless they want me to.
Exactly.
But now again, post-COVID, that's not going to happen.
No. Might have to change your approach on that.
Oh, you got to take a rain check. But yeah, I've stripped at the number 5. I've stripped at the Penthouse. I stripped at
Because you're in the circuit too, right?
Yeah, I was kind of on the circuit from about like October to. Sorry, my brain's farting. October to March, because I had more booked after my last week, which was like March 16th is when everything shut down in Vancouver. Like everything just stopped.
Yeah.
And I literally just finished my shift when I came home, and like I was like, wow, the NBA shut down. Whoa, this is like
kind of a big deal.
Shut down. Holy shit! Like this is actually going down, guys.
Yep.
And I did go to a birthday party rave that night as well. And everybody there was super responsible about keeping people weren't shaking hands or hugging. There was none of that going on. There were signs up around in the space saying, please wash your hands, please don't hug, please
nothing
please
physical.
Try to respect some type of distancing. And it was a small party too. It wasn't like
a rager.
It was more than 100 people. It was a pretty small party. And that was like the last big social gathering I went to before I went on a small camping trip in July, and that's it. Like, it's pretty shocking.
Yeah,
but yeah,
things have changed.
This is why, in hindsight, 2020, fuck 2020.
Everyone's with you on that one.
I really wish that I had felt more confidence in my skills to start earlier, because there was a time where I was like, no, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can like travel that much. And it was like, I started doing it like, bitch, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, what the fuck were you talking about? Like, you can handle your shit.
You got this.
You are not 7 years old. You are fine. Like, just deal with it. And so, like, I'm starting to learn where some of that avoidance comes from, and, work through that. And that's a whole other bucket of crabs.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, again, like, I mean, I don't really know when everything's going to open up again, just because cases are rising again. Like, who knows? It's all a big question mark at this point, but, like, I'm so glad. Yeah, like, you're so talented. Like, if you guys haven't seen Vivika perform live, she is amazing. I just want to put that out there.
I have been trying to keep up with keeping up on my skill and stuff at home. I did actually give myself a bit of a shoulder injury last year. That seems to have kind of deteriorated because I've stopped working. So I'm kind of in the place of just starting some physio on that. But I've still been putting on my heels and doing my hip circles and my figure eights and like my get downs and stuff like that. And also following some of the teachers from our studio on Instagram. I've been saving their videos and doing them along at home too.
Awesome.
And I think that's actually what I'm going to try and do today, even though it's going to be like hot as balls in my apartment.
Yeah, it's already hot right now. Like it's hot.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 32 degrees today, so yeah.
At the time of recording, again. Which is like gross.
Yeah. That's basically it. And until everything kind of calms down, we're not going to go back to normal. And I totally understand that. And I don't expect that to happen because in a lot of ways, the old normal was really not okay.
Yeah.
And I want a new normal, but I also want everyone to be safe out there.
Of course.
This is like me putting this out there to anybody who's listening and who's questioning whether or not this is real. I 100% guarantee you it is real.
Yes.
Please stay safe. Please do not go to big house parties. Like, I'm begging you, please do not gamble with your health.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care how much flack I'm going to get for that, but please just be safe out there.
I 100% support this view. If you want to be able to like kind of enjoy yourselves, just got to do your part in the meantime, you know? Like, I know it's nice outside, but wear a mask, wash your hands, don't gather, just so we could have nice things in the future and hopefully soon. But who knows when that's going to be.
So the faster we try and do this, the faster we're going to get back to being able to do the things that we like. So
exactly.
Come on, y'all, stick together.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Inspiring anime music in the background.
I love it. So dorky. I love it so much.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big dork. But like I said, I'm just this funny, nerdy person. Like, I used to play World of Warcraft. I'll talk gamer shit with you. And, you know, I'm a pretty down-to-earth person.
Yes.
And, you know, just, I'm funny. At least I think I'm funny.
You are. We do have just a few questions that came in here as well. So we'll quickly go over that. Yeah, they're really interesting. So first one, where do you get your latex outfits from?
Okay.
Very specific.
I actually inherited quite a bit of my latex.
Oh, because it's expensive as hell.
Yeah, it is.
It's so pricey.
Really expensive. It is, and unfortunately, some of it hasn't kept well. I don't think that it would before some of the pieces I received from. Funny story. So, like, there was a Craigslist post,
okay,
and this woman was like, "I have a tub of free fetish stuff."
What?
Like, yeah, she was just like, my ex-roommates left this, and I don't want it in my house, and I don't know what it's for. And there were some photos of what was in the box, and I was like, oh, holy shit. And so this box was actually, the Craigslist had been cross-posted on a Facebook group for Vancouver BDSM buy, sell, borrow, whatever group. And immediately people were like jumping on this box, like, oh my God, and thinking the poster was the person who was selling it, which they weren't. And I had already gotten in contact with the original poster from Craigslist.
Yeah.
And she was like, wow, there's a lot of interest in this box. And I was like, look, I will give you $100 to hold the box for me, and I will bring you a bottle of wine as well. And she was like, oh, okay, okay, sure. And so we went out there, and we got this giant green tote, and we took it home, and I unpacked it, and what was in there was probably something close to, I'd say, maybe $6,000 worth of latex.
Holy shit.
Some of it didn't fit. Some of it had some repairs that needed to be made, and some of it had been like unwashed, so it was kind of degraded, and I had to throw some of it out. But still, like,
that's a steal.
I scored big on this one.
Yeah, you did.
And there were also there were some restraints and some chains and some other stuff in there, like different types of latex lube, and like obviously I sterilized all the stuff that I kept and whatever I sold, because some of it was just too small for me. But I kind of scored on some of that. So
you definitely scored.
I inherited some of my latex. I was gifted some from an ex-dom who we were friends, and she had some pieces that she didn't want anymore that didn't fit her. So the other place that I like to go sometimes is Deadly Fetish.
Yes.
Deadly Couture Fetish downtown in Vancouver.
In Gastown. Yes.
Yeah,
such a good store.
Canby and Hastings. Yeah,
just downstairs.
I go that entire stretch. Yeah, upstairs, downstairs, and next door. They've almost taken over the entire building, except for the Revolver Coffee next door.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I highly suggest Deli Couture. They range like mid to high prices on latex. They have some great sales too and stuff like that. It's by appointment only right now, so don't go running in there without an appointment. Be COVID safe, everybody.
Another question here. Favorite scenes to perform?
Oh, favorite scenes to perform. By far, I absolutely love like chastity play
Yes.
and like some CBT. Like, absolutely love playing with like little devices and stuff.
Okay.
I like to use. I like cock rings. I love to use weighted cock rings.
Ooh.
I love chastity cages. I have one that is this really pretty pink plastic. It's a very nice, well-made one. That's the thing with chastity devices is that you can get cheap ones, but they're cheap.
Yeah,
so this
you got
one
what
was
you paid
about
for.
$100.
Okay.
Yeah, it was $100. It has a built-in lock, and it's this really gorgeous, soft pink. It's very girly.
Can you see pictures of this?
Yeah, I'll have to send you a photo. It definitely won't be a photo you can put on Instagram, but you might be able to put it on Twitter.
Okay. I can't wait to take a look.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, I love impact play with cock and ball torture. It's really fun for me to just sit there and kind of bounce those little balls around and like tap them with a crop or whatever.
Amazing.
What's another type of play that I really like? I really like butt play. I really like anal, and I like pegging. I really like the strap-on play and stuff like that. I really like the exchange of power dynamic. It's very arousing for me. I wish I could have a dick and a pussy sometimes. Like, they're pretty amazing. Like,
yes, they are
beautiful, and they're so sensitive and they're so fantastic. And I would love to have one because I'm always like, what does it feel like?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Feel like to have a dick. Like, I really want to know what it feels like, and it's like, I can't even imagine it, but like when I wear the strap on and I'm pegging somebody, like it's really hot and it really does get me off. Like, I'm really aroused by it. So like I'd say pegging, chastity, CBT, and like obviously bondage. I love tying people up in like spread eagle positions and stuff like that, and just having my way, consensually having my way with them.
Of course. That sounds like so much fun.
It is.
And you know what? Like, I think this last question is kind of in a similar vein, but this person asked, what are your favorite toys to use?
Oh, okay. So
such a good question.
So it depends. Like, am I using these toys on myself? Am I using these toys on somebody else? So
it wasn't specified.
A varied.
Yeah.
I'll give a varied question. So my personal favorite toy to use is I have a cordless Hitachi style vibrator.
Ooh, okay.
It's like a godsend. It's fabulous. I love it. I got it on Amazon. Actually, it was gifted to me from my partner, and given to me on for a little pillow gift.
Oh, I love that.
I have to say, it's been like my savior. I have sometimes a very hard time with toys that don't give enough stimulation. Mm-hmm. My anatomy is arranged in such a way that my clit is a little more harder to access. TMI, but if you see me on stage and you see me in a spready, like, you already know, probably, unless you don't. But anyhow, so for me, like, the toy has to be very particular. Like, I really enjoy the power of this vibrator.
Okay.
And my second favorite toy would definitely be my Womanizer Starlet Edition. I have the small hand, the tiny, like, purse-sized Womanizer that has like 4 speeds on it, and it's USB rechargeable. And I have to say that, like, a really nice combination of the wand and the Womanizer, just, yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
Great. Love it.
This is not sponsored.
It is non-sponsored.
I wish this was an ad.
Anything from Womanizer.
We're not paid to do this.
I don't know the brand of the other the wand I use, but it's pretty good. So
okay.
A tip, just make sure that you find one that has good reviews. Like, take your time to read the reviews, and don't always read the good reviews.
Read the bad ones.
Reviews.
That's more informative. Of course.
Vivika's shopping tips. Read the bad reviews. Anyhow, so the other toys that I really enjoy playing with, like I mentioned, I really like chastity cages. Like I really love it. To me, it's a sexy look, and
okay.
It gives me a sense of power, and I like that power exchange. Obviously, it's always done consensually and never outside of the boundaries that have been given. I love role play. Like, I really do like role play. So I like my costumes. Those are some of my favorite toys. My costumes.
The best.
And I have to say, I have a big, like, I like my strap-on, obviously, but I have a big lollipop paddle that's made of really heavy steel. It was handmade by someone in my community. She's really awesome. She's a metal worker.
Cool.
And she made this amazing, like, she welded this paddle together and took the edges off of it and then powder blasted it, like, black. And it looks gorgeous, and it has some weight to it. So that's like my favorite impact tool and like chastity cage. I'd say those are some of my favorite things to play with.
Wow, I feel like I have to like Google some of this stuff like after the show. That's so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that.
No problem. Sorry, I hope it wasn't TMI.
Never TMI on this show. I encourage oversharing. But before I let you go, where can we find you? Okay, so I can be found, I haven't been as active on Twitter lately just because I needed to take a break from it, but I am starting to post on it more, so I can give you my Twitter account, which is Vivika Vaughn. It's just at Vivika Vaughn. Perfect.
VIVIKAVAUGHN.
Awesome.
My Instagram is private right now, so I'm not really going to be giving it out. If you feel like you look hard enough, you'll be able to find me. Right. I don't usually accept random requests unless you sent a message to me. That being said, if you do send me a message and you're interested in, doing an online session with me or taking tasks from me, you can message me or you can tweet me.
There you go.
On my Twitter page, my Twitter account, I have my link tree, and you can access all of my base landing options. So you can access me on Sextpanther, you can access me on Twitter, and you can access some other things like my Amazon gift page and whatever else I have up there.
Awesome.
So I'm not really like, and Sextpanther too. I'm Vivika Vaughn on Sextpanther as well.
Perfect.
So if you feel like searching me up and sending me some dirty texts, I will definitely text you back.
Awesome.
And we can have some fun.
Have a lot of fun.
For now, I'm not really dancing anywhere just at the moment because it is the way it is right now. So I will definitely announce whenever I end up getting back on stage, if that ever happens. Or what? So that's about all the ways you can contact me.
Awesome. And
I prefer to be contacted on Twitter if you are going to contact me.
Perfect. And I'll be able to like put your Twitter and your link tree and your Sextpanther all in the show notes. So it should be available if you just scroll down. So that's where you guys can find Vivika. Guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. It was super insightful on many different levels. You are so informative about this. Thank you for your expertise.
I just ramble a lot, and I have a lot of information, so sometimes it just comes out in this like nonstop stream.
No, it's great. It's so much, I always appreciate more information rather than, okay, I don't know what this means. I'm going to have to Google it later. I'm going to have to like, prompt more.
You have to do your extra research, which is kind of hard.
Yeah, which can be annoying, but this was so great. Everything was packed in. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Vivika. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I really appreciate you having me on the show, and I can't wait to hear it drop.
Of course. And don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe, and review wherever you get your podcast. And if you want to DM me, feel free to comment or anything like that. It's Strip by Sia on Instagram, as well as my personal, which is Sia Steph. And we'll catch you guys in for another brand new spanking episode next Sunday. Thanks so much, Vivika.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Bye. You're listening to Stripped by Sia, produced and hosted by Steph Sia, aka Kimchi, music by Ted D, photography by Ian Dabra.